When you think about the Joe Biden you saw in the debate, ask yourself a question. Do you think the guy who was defeated by the stairs, got taken down by his bike, lost a fight with his jacket, and regularly gets lost, makes it 4 more years in the White House? And you know who's waiting behind him, right? Vote Joe Biden today and Kamala Harris tomorrow.
Yeah, that's an interesting ad. I'm not sure it's necessarily going to be successful for them because the strategy is, you just saw him debate. Well, this is a guy who falls downstairs. Yeah, but if he beats Trump in the debate, then Trump was beat by a guy who falls downstairs and falls off bikes and all of that. Like he falls down logs. Like, is that a good strategy to remind people that the person you're really worried right now is going to beat Trump in the debate is utterly incompetent and he barely has a mind too? That seems risky. And I also don't know for how many people who are maybe worried about Donald Trump as president, if they already believe that Joe Biden should be their guy and he's about to die, according to you, wouldn't they prefer Harris anyway? Like, why would they go from, well, I want Biden, but Biden will die in 2 years, so I guess let's just have Trump for 4.
The video will continue in just a moment, but first I have a message for you. TYT needs your help. Membership is vital to survival, so please go to tyt.com/team and become a member today.
That's a really weird this seems like the sort of ad you release to fire up your base, to laugh at Joe Biden. I don't see it as particularly persuasive, but yeah, what's your quick response?
Yeah, not old, and that seems to be the biggest grievance that they have with Joe Biden at this point. So maybe, yeah, they would prefer Kamala Harris to either Trump or Biden because both of those guys are very old. They're the 2 oldest presidential candidates in history. I think I already said that. But I did always find it a strange attack that would come out of the Trump camp as far as, how dumb and disoriented and incompetent Joe Biden is because, Trump lost to Joe Biden. And he's likely, I don't want to make any predictions, but it's likely that he'll lose to Joe Biden again. And how is that going to make him look? It was weird when he first started doing it. It's weird that he kept doing it even after he lost in 2020. But of course, he gets around that by maintaining that he didn't really lose to Joe Biden. It was all rigged against him. So.
Yeah, it's so much of the strategy is weird that Joe Biden just regularly gets lost. He has no idea where he is. And he's working tirelessly 24/7 to destroy America root and stem.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense.
He'd get lost on the way to destroying America, according to you. Like, well, he was gonna be a dictator, but he fell over. Like, I don't know, it's just such a weird strategy. But anyway, like the attacks and the kind of trolling aside, let's go to where it gets at least in the neighborhood of substance in this other ad he's gonna release tonight.
No matter what Joe Biden promised in the debate, ask yourself, are you financially better off since he became president? Are you and your family safer since he became president? Is our country more secure since he became president? After 4 years of failure under Joe Biden, it's time to make America prosperous and strong again. Donald Trump for president again.
Again. Okay, that is a very classic sort of political ad. The guy's the incumbent. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And if you're not, well, why continue down this path? I think that's a wise strategy. You can run that sort of ad in almost any campaign. It makes sense that they're doing it here. That said, I have a few problems with it. I don't know that some of the specific claims that they're making there make a lot of sense, particularly when you're like, make us prosperous and strong again. Well, I remember what the last year of the first Trump term was like. We were losing tens of thousands of people literally every month to a disease that he refused to acknowledge other than making racial slurs in relation to it. How is our economy doing in the last year of the Trump term? Like, it's a weird ahistorical claim. And some of the specific things that he wants to highlight, I get why he's doing that. He's talking about inflation, he's talking about border crossings in that ad, because that's what they're trying to whip people up into a fearful frenzy over on Fox News. But the issue, and they see this, they keep trying to get out in front of this, is that the numbers aren't moving in the right direction for them. So inflation did go up as a result of the fact that we needed to do so much stimulus because he utterly biffed the response to the pandemic. But inflation is also going down. Like, if you look at it, yes, it's still higher than it was before the pandemic, but it is steadily dropping. as Joe Biden had said it was going to. Now, that doesn't solve the problem that prices are still too high, but Donald Trump put us on the path to inflation going up in the first place. So do you really want to go back to him? They talked about like fentanyl or whatever. Okay, but US overdose deaths have decreased in 2023, the first time since 2018. We seem to be moving kind of on the right direction when it comes to that. And if you are gonna make the case that so much of that fentanyl is being carried in backpacks across the border, well, then you should consider it great news that according to the most recent reporting, arrests at the US border were already falling in April. And then Joe Biden did his, I would say, utterly draconian executive order on the border, but border arrests have fallen more than 40% since that halt. So, I mean, like, this is what they were saying needed to happen. Joe Biden did it. It seems to be having the sort of results that they at least want. I think there's a cost to that drop. There are certainly people who desperately need and deserve asylum that are not now getting across the border. But according to Trump and the conservatives, this is a massive success. So maybe you are better off along those terms, at least, than you were 4 years ago. So look, I don't know how much of this fact checking will get through to the right wingers or whatever, but yeah, it's just, I don't know that the argument is as strong as he might think it is.
Yeah, so there's a guy in my neighborhood and he's flying this Trump flag, right? He's been flying it for a few months already, and he flew it back in 2020 as well. But it says it's Trump for president, and it says no more BS, right? There's a profanity on this flag that he flies in the neighborhood, and the HOA says nothing, which is another story. But the Trump flags, these came out when Trump was running for re-election in 2020. It says no more, right? He wants no more of the bad stuff. And this was a flag that he released after he had already been president for 4 years, right? And this is a flag that a guy in my neighborhood makes sense to him. You know, he thinks I'm going to fly this because this makes sense. So it really comes down to perception, right? And I know that you offered a lot of data and stats and things like that, but a lot of that is lost on people, right? Because it comes down to a feeling, right? For one, the economy. It's a strange thing to sway people during a presidential race because there's such a lagging effect for things like inflation, which you mentioned. Still, it's one of those things that I think people just don't really understand. They don't really understand how it works and the nuance of it and how many variables are involved in what makes a good or a bad economy, or what can affect an economy adversely or not. So it's easy to demonize the economy and point to it as a reason as to why you think your life sucks right now more than it did sometime before when it sucked less, I guess. And security, as I think the ad said, like, do you feel more secure than you did? Do you feel more security? Like, we can look at the numbers and we can see that crime has gone down. They will discredit the numbers and say it's a reporting issue and things like that. And maybe there's something to that. But they've even said on Fox News, it's about a feeling. Do you feel more secure? Do you feel safe today? And a lot of people who watch Fox News would probably say, no, I don't feel safe, because all they do on Fox News is tell people that they have all of these threats that are coming to take their families or their livelihoods or their money or something. And I mean, I know some of these people, they live around me. And they live in fear of things. And this is literally one of the most safe neighborhoods in the country. So they're unaffected largely by a lot of these things, but they still feel like they're afraid of everything.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's unfortunate because they like that feeling. I mean, they could just stop watching Fox. Yeah. It would massively improve their quality of life, but they like the feeling. It's the melange of superiority and victimhood that's given. You are simultaneously the best thing that has ever existed, and everything is against you.
I hate it.
I don't know why they love it so much. When you click the join button and become a tier 2 member, you get access to all of our weekly top 10 lists. What are you waiting for?